Tonight on Ear to the Ground, living with depression.
It's one thing if you've decided to cater a party for 200 people, but it's another thing if you're just looking at 3 loads of washing and you can't start.
Welcome to Ear to the Ground. Well, later on I'm in Cork to find out about the magic of malt. But we start tonight with Helen, who's travelled to Wicklow to meet a sheep farmer who has found a way to live with depression.
In 2002, when Dublin girl Leonie Vella met country boy Stephen Byrne, a match was made. At the time, they had no intention of returning to County Wicklow or getting back into farming. Fast forward a few years though, and not only are they sheep farming, it's Leonie who's the full-time farmer. Leonie had been working as a kitchen designer while Stephen was an electrician. When the recession hit, Stephen's family farm became an economic lifeline.
It was at about the same time that I became pregnant with Luke, who's now 5.5. I think our first lambing was at about the same time Luke was born, so it was a really big change.
A baptism of fire. Did you think, what have I let myself in for here?
Absolutely, yeah.
But for Stephen, even though it was a decision forced upon him, it was a welcome one.
It was something I wanted to do when I was younger, and it's just the way life happened. I became an electrician by chance, and the money was hard to leave it. But then when the downturn came and I found myself unemployed, the chance of becoming a farmer just came like so.
The plan at the time was that you were full-time farming and Leonie had a job off the farm. But when things started to pick up again, you had to change direction once more, didn't you?
We did, yeah. We got a phone call about a year ago, and my old boss rang and said there's work there if I wanted to come back and do a bit of work. So we sat down and we talked about it, and we said we like the extra money, well, we can't turn that down.
He was actually working in Dublin and staying overnight, and I was gone from 8 to 6, Monday to Friday, and we had the 5.5-year-old, and we had all the sheep. So, you know,
something had to give.
Something had to give, yeah.
It fell to Leonie to take on a role that she could never have envisaged. You were going to become a full-time farmer?
Yes. I didn't know what that meant, though, which is probably a good thing.
I'd say you found out pretty quickly, Leonie.
Yeah, pretty quick.
How did your life change?
Well, it was quite debilitating to start with because it's hard work. And I would have been used to sitting for most of the day, talking on the phone and using a keyboard and mouse. So from that to be having to fork out a whole round bale of silage a day and dealing with electric fences and torrential rain and wind and all the rest.
And tricky animals.
Even the likes of feeding time, they really liked their oats and their meal, and they were quite violent about wanting it. So I was generally black and blue.
Were there
from the waist down
when you thought, what have I let myself in for?
Absolutely. I'd say that came probably at about lunchtime on day one. About a week in, Stephen found me in a heap in the utility room in tears because it was Sunday and I was going, oh my God, I have to do it all again. But, you know, managed to pick myself up and get back at it.
While Leonie is still grappling with many of the day-to-day challenges of farming, she loves the life it offers, especially the time it allows her to spend with her son Luke. Things are good now, but 5 years ago, following the birth of Luke, Leonie found herself struggling to cope emotionally.
Spending hours in the day sobbing because you're trying to feed the child solids or you can't deal with the mountain of washing or whatever. It turned out that's not normal. So I made an appointment to see my GP, and he had diagnosed me with postnatal depression. Once I started on medication for it, very quickly everything kind of became more normal again, and I hadn't realised how off-kilter everything had been. It was like night and day. It was.
Did you find it remarkable how quickly the meds fixed things?
Yes. There'd be a big difference between not being on the medication and being on the medication. Just sometimes the feeling of being completely overwhelmed when you shouldn't feel completely overwhelmed. It's one thing if you've decided to cater a party for 200 people, but it's another thing if you're just looking at 3 loads of washing and you can't start, you know.
Could you see that Leonie was suffering after Luke came along?
No, I couldn't. Everything was so new for us back then with the new baby and our first lambing season. I just didn't realise. And I suppose when I was thinking of depression, you think of someone getting into the bed for a week or 2 weeks and, you know, wanting to end and all. But really, depression is not like that. It's just when the small things build up to a big thing and you can't get over that. But no, honestly, I didn't see anything at the time.
Once you knew there was an issue, were you concerned?
I was concerned, yeah. You'd blame yourself and you'd blame maybe it's the fact she's from Dublin and living in the country, she doesn't like it, or, you know, you'd be blaming different things and all that, but it's just in the makeup. It's what it is.
Leonie has tried to wean herself off the medication, but her depression returned. Leonie, if you had asthma or diabetes, you would be on medication for the rest of your life anyway. Mm-hmm. So why do you feel, if you're on medication for your depression, that it's something that maybe I would like not to have to use it at some stage in the future?
I think that while I'm okay with being on it, you're going to hope that you don't need to be taking chemicals needlessly. If I do, I do though. I am okay with taking them, but just you'd aspire to being, to getting those chemicals levelled out, I suppose.
Leonie has been very open about her depression, but feels that as a society, we still have a long way to go in our attitudes and approach to mental health.
Even when you say to people often, I am on medication still for postnatal depression, they don't know where to look, they don't know what to say, and they kind of go, oh. I think there's a lot of stigma still surrounding any kind of mental health. People don't want to talk about it, they're embarrassed to hear about it. But if people don't deal with it, it's not going to just go away. That's the big thing, is people talking. Hopefully, if I talk about it, the more people hear about depression and that kind of thing, maybe the more normal it becomes, and people just, if they aren't feeling well, that they can just seek help. As a medical problem, it's not a big problem, it's really easily fixed. But you have to ask for the help.